I'm a 49-year-old woman, and until recently, I'd been married to my ex-husband Derek, also 49, for 2 decades. We have 2 kids together, our daughter, who's 22 now, and our 17-year-old son. Just a few months ago, our marriage ended after I learned Derek had been carrying on a 2-year affair. It completely wrecked me. But what nearly broke me just as much was finding out that my daughter had known the entire time. For 2 years, she kept it from me, lying, covering for him, and never once giving me the slightest warning. When the truth came out, I wasn't only crushed by my husband's betrayal, I was gutted by my daughter's choice to protect him instead of me. I knew she'd been young and that it must have been an impossible position for her, but that didn't soften the blow. I never confronted her directly back then because she was getting ready to leave for college, and I didn't want to dump that confrontation on her right before a big life change. Instead, I just told her I knew, that I understood, and I tried to let it go. Still, after she left, I noticed myself pulling away from her, not out of spite, but because I needed space to process everything and start healing. I didn't call as often. I didn't reach out like I used to. It wasn't some grand decision, it just happened. Fast forward about a year and a half, and I'd started dating again. I met a wonderful 41-year-old man who has a 10-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. Recently, we all went to Disney together. He paid for the entire trip as a birthday surprise for his little girl and wanted to make it a big family-style event. She even picked her 2 cousins to join us, so it was really her celebration. My son came along, too, and we had a great time. My boyfriend posted a photo of all of us on social media. Apparently, my daughter saw it because she didn't speak to me for more than a month afterward. And honestly, her silence didn't sting the way it would have before. I still love her deeply, but every time we talk, the old hurt creeps right back in. When she finally did call, she was sobbing, yelling that I'd never forgiven her and that I'd shut her out on purpose. She accused me of replacing her with my boyfriend and his daughter, insisting it was ancient history. She kept saying, "I was a kid. I didn't mean to hurt you." She told me she thought staying quiet was the right thing at the time, that she didn't know how to tell me, and that she was terrified of breaking up our family. She asked outright if I would ever forgive her or if I'd already moved on without her. I told her I loved her and never wanted her to feel replaced, but she just kept pushing, telling me to get over it already, warning that I was abandoning her for some new life. To make things worse, Derek later called me, livid, accusing me of leaving our daughter behind for a younger man and his family. He had the audacity to call me selfish for moving on, as if he didn't blow our marriage apart with his affair. The irony? His girlfriend is 30 years old. It feels like no one gets that I'm still clawing my way out of years of betrayal and heartbreak. My pain gets treated like an inconvenience, something I'm just supposed to drop. My son, who still lives with me, found out about his sister covering for their dad when he overheard my ex's mom and sister talking about it. He was devastated and hasn't forgiven her either. Now they barely talk. I'd never wanted him to find out, but here we are, a family divided. I'm in therapy, trying to make sense of everything, but I still feel lost. Part of me knows she was young and overwhelmed. Another part can't shake the feeling that she chose her dad over me. I love my daughter, but our conversations always drag me back into that place of hurt. I can't tell if I'm protecting myself or failing as a mother. Sometimes I think I've emotionally checked out, and I honestly don't know how to get back to her. Edit for clarity, my divorce only happened a few months ago, not 3 years ago like I accidentally wrote before. My sister, who can be a little scatterbrained, encouraged me to post here and even typed most of it for me, but she messed up the timeline and I didn't catch it. My daughter was actually 17 when she found out about the affair. Back then, she was already going through a rough patch, changing schools due to personal issues, repeating a grade, so when I found out, it was less than 2 years ago. Update number 1, I want to thank everyone who responded. I was overwhelmed by the sheer volume of replies. Some of the advice stung, but it was what I needed to hear. One comment in particular stuck with me. Someone pointed out how short life is and how precious our time is with the people we love. It hit me hard. I realized I'd been so consumed by anger and pain that I wasn't thinking about the kind of relationship I'd want with my daughter if something happened tomorrow. A few days later, I reached out to her. I told her I didn't want to dig up the past just to assign blame. I wanted to figure out how to move forward. She was understandably cautious, but she agreed to talk. We had that conversation a few nights ago. It wasn't easy. There were tense moments, and hearing her perspective hurt at times, but it felt like the first real step toward facing the mess between us. I finally asked her to tell me everything. When I first confronted Derek about the affair, he'd claimed she'd always known, that she'd even helped him keep it from me. He swore she disliked me and was on his side. Hearing that from him was devastating, and it made discovering the affair even more painful. At first, she didn't want to go into detail, but eventually, she opened up and explained how it all unfolded. A few months before I learned the truth, she'd gotten into serious trouble at her high school. Without revealing every detail, I'll just say her actions had major consequences. The school had a strict zero-tolerance policy, so she was expelled. She had to start over at a new school and repeat the year. Her grades plummeted, and she was struggling to recover. When it happened, I thought it was important she face the consequences and learn from it. I grounded her and took away her electronics, thinking it would help her reflect and take responsibility. I wanted her to understand how serious it was so she could come out stronger. Derek completely disagreed. He said I was being too harsh, that she needed support, not discipline. The tension between us became unbearable. Between my disappointment in her and my frustration with him, our home turned into a constant battlefield. Every conversation seemed to spiral into an argument. Over the past year, therapy has helped me see that I played a role too. I let my pain and frustration turn into anger. Instead of handling things calmly, I often lashed out, making the atmosphere at home even more uncomfortable for everyone. When she first learned about Derek's affair, it was right on the heels of that mess with her school. She was still angry with me, still raw from everything that had happened. She admitted that part of the reason she kept quiet was because she wanted to get back at me. Holding that secret, in her mind at the time, felt like revenge even though now she knows how wrong that was. She also told me she had actually tried to convince her dad to confess. But he shot that idea down. He told her I'd already been disappointed enough by what happened with her at school, and that she shouldn't pile more on me. So instead, she stayed silent. She kept lying, hoping the whole thing would somehow fade away without me ever finding out. Hearing that was heartbreaking. It didn't excuse her actions, but it did give me a better picture of her headspace back then. And learning that her father actively pressured her into keeping his secret made my anger toward him burn even hotter. He didn't just blow up our marriage with his cheating, he dragged our daughter into it, made her carry the weight of his lies, and left her feeling trapped and responsible. To be honest, our marriage had been struggling for a while, and I think we might have ended up divorcing eventually anyway. But there's a difference between being a bad spouse and being a terrible parent. That part, the way he used her, feels unforgivable. They'd always been close, and even at my angriest, I never wanted to ruin that for her. But knowing what he made her do has only deepened my resentment toward him. I told her plainly that my hurt wasn't just from what she did, it was from the way it shattered my trust in her. At the same time, I reminded her that she's my daughter, I love her, and that will never change. I can't undo the past, but I want us to rebuild. We agreed to take small steps. I suggested we try online therapy together. At first, she was unsure. She's already in therapy on her own and didn't know if she wanted to open up in a joint session, but I think she realized how serious I am about making this work, because she agreed. I also brought up her brother. The two of them have never been particularly close. He's always been more reserved and independent, while she's more outgoing and emotional. There's been tension before, but after he overheard about her keeping their dad's affair a secret, things completely froze between them. They've barely exchanged words since. I've tried talking to him about giving her another chance even back when she and I weren't speaking much, because I really do want them to have some kind of relationship. But I also don't want to push him. He's old enough to make his own choices, and I don't want to force him into something he's not ready for. If they both need time apart to heal, I'll respect that. Someone in the comments pointed out how unrealistic the standards for women can be, and I've been thinking about it a lot. I don't hold my daughter to some impossible bar just because she's a woman. She's the light of my life. But I also see now how much of this story I've shared in such a negative frame because of how badly it all unfolded. I'm still just trying to sort it out in my own head. I'm not always sure where I stand or what I'm feeling. A lot of days, I'm just putting one foot in front of the other like anyone else, doing the best I can. Thank you again to everyone who encouraged me to have this conversation. It wasn't easy, but I'm hopeful we can work through this, slowly, one step at a time. Extra context I gave in a reply to a commenter about the incident with my daughter and I haven't just come to terms with it, and if you want the recap, here it is. My daughter was part of something inexcusable, something that pushed another girl to the edge of doing something irreversible to herself. The other girl's parents filed a formal complaint against the school. My daughter admitted it was her fault, but still found ways to make excuses for herself. So yes, I punished her. What was I supposed to do? Sweep it under the rug? Pretend it never happened? My husband at the time sided with her, saying she'd already been through enough since she'd been expelled, as if that alone was enough of a consequence. She threw tantrums, played the victim, and insisted she'd learned her lesson. I did what I thought any responsible parent would do. I grounded her, I monitored her, I tried to help her change. And then, right in the middle of that storm, I found out Derek was cheating on me. Not just a one-time mistake, a gut-wrenching, humiliating affair. And when I confronted him, He told me my daughter had known all along. Not only that, he said she'd helped keep it from me. And then he twisted the knife even deeper by claiming she didn't even like me. You want to talk about poison? That's poison. Hearing something like that from someone you love, knowing your own child took the other side in something so vile. But even then, I didn't scream at her. I didn't blow up. I just pulled back. Yes, I distanced myself, but because I didn't want to cause more damage. Was I supposed to pretend everything was fine? Wrap her in a hug and act like none of it happened? Everything was not fine. But I'm trying now. God knows I'm trying. My son doesn't understand why. He calls her toxic and tells me to keep my distance. But I told him no, she's my daughter, and I have to try. And yet people online still pass judgment like I haven't been breaking my back to keep what's left of this family from falling apart. I wasn't looking for judgment, I was just giving an update. Update number 2, my relationship with my daughter has never been simple, but finding out she kept Derek's affair from me shattered it completely. She knew what was happening and said nothing. That knowledge, his betrayal and her secrecy, broke something inside me I haven't been able to fix. Even before that, we'd been on rocky ground. Years earlier, the school bullying incident had changed everything between us. What she did to that other girl was cruel on a level that's hard to put into words. It was so bad she was expelled. And for me, it reopened wounds from my own childhood, because I had been the victim of similar treatment. Memories I thought I'd buried came flooding back, and I still haven't fully dealt with them. Maybe I went too far in punishing her, I can admit that. But I wanted her to understand this wasn't just bad behavior. It was extremely wrong. She'd used electronics to fuel the bullying, so I took them away. If she needed them for homework, she had to do it under my supervision. I made her volunteer in places where she could see the real-world impact of cruelty. I even got her into therapy. I tried every route I could think of to help her grow into someone better. But the fights never stopped. She resented me for all of it. And then, when the truth came out about her covering for her father, it felt like the final break. I never stopped loving her, I couldn't, but I felt betrayed in a way that froze me. I didn't confront her directly, because every time I thought about it, the words just wouldn't come. Instead, I quietly pulled away. I still answered her calls, still spoke to her, but in the ways that mattered most, I wasn't as present. Even after everything, I never walked away from my daughter completely. I still called her. I still showed up at her events. I still helped her financially whenever she needed it. In all the practical ways, I was there. But emotionally, I couldn't be. Every time I looked at her, the hurt came flooding back, sharp and unrelenting. I wanted to close the gap between us. I wanted to be the mom she deserved. But I couldn't figure out how to be near her without falling apart inside. I know I failed her by pulling away. I own that. But at the time, it felt like the only way I could survive. Now here we are, sitting in therapy, trying to piece together what's left of our relationship. I wish I could say it's helping, but I honestly don't know. The first session went okay, awkward, but doable. The second? It felt like being ripped open. She spent the whole time telling me how everything wrong in her life was my fault. She said I ruined her childhood. She brought up the punishment from years ago, insisting I overreacted and destroyed her future. She refused to acknowledge what she did to that other girl. She refused to see the pain she caused me when she hid her father's affair. In her eyes, her dad is still the perfect parent. And me? I'm the villain in her story. She doesn't see how he manipulated me, or her. He's the one who put her in the middle. He's the one who told her to keep his secret. But all she says is that she was protecting him. Yes, my marriage wasn't perfect. Yes, we were probably headed for divorce anyway. But somehow, I'm the one carrying all the blame. 4 months I've been working on myself, trying to rebuild, trying to find some peace. But therapy with her feels like it's undoing all that progress. I'm drained, mentally, emotionally, physically. I'm breaking my back to save this relationship, and I don't know if I can keep doing it. I love her. She's my daughter. That will never change. But no matter what I do, it's never enough. Why isn't this working? Why can't I fix it? Is it me? Am I really the awful mother she sees me as? Am I the villain? I don't know how we got here. I've spent years trying to protect her, guide her, raise her to be better. But every step forward seems to push us further apart. I know I've made mistakes, God knows I have, but is this really past the point of repair? Would she be happier without me in her life? Maybe I was too strict. Maybe too cold. Maybe I gave her reasons to hate me. But I've given her everything I have, and it still feels like it doesn't matter. Now I'm just lost. Maybe I did ruin everything. Maybe I am the root of all this pain. Maybe I'm nothing more than a reminder of everything she resents. And I'm breaking. I'm so unbelievably broken. I don't know how to fix this anymore. I don't even know what fixing it would look like. Do I keep fighting for us, or is it time to let go? I'm so tired. So painfully tired. I feel like I can't breathe under the weight of it all. It's suffocating. Update number 3. I wasn't planning to post again, but some people messaged asking how things turned out. So here it is, my last update. I'm not looking for advice or judgment. I just want to close the book. My daughter has stopped therapy. She said it wasn't helping, and honestly, I could see her heart wasn't in it. I didn't fight her on it. You can't force someone to heal, all it does is push them further away. We still talk, but only about surface level things. And in some ways, that's better. There's less tension, fewer arguments. But I've accepted something I didn't want to face before. You can't rebuild with someone who refuses to take accountability for their part in the damage. We're both still in our own individual therapy, and maybe that's all we can do for now. Maybe one day we'll meet in the middle. Maybe we won't. I've made peace with the fact that things may never fully heal. It still hurts, but I can live with it. My door will always be open to her. She knows that. On a brighter note, my boyfriend and I are planning to move in together. It feels like the right next step, and we're both excited for it. And my son, he just got into an incredible college. I'm so proud of him I could cry. Watching him work this hard and achieve this goal has been one of the proudest moments of my life. So that's where I am now. Thank you to everyone who showed me kindness through this. This will be my last update. I'm ready to let this chapter rest and focus on the life ahead of me. Take care.